Hey guys, what is up? I hope you are all doing well. And as for me, I'm very excited to check out this Supergirl trailer. Now, you know, I enjoyed Superman. I know people have some mixed reactions on Superman, but I myself did enjoy it. And I am very curious to check this out. I have opinions on the poster and some other things that have given me trepidations on this trailer, but I'm going to throw all that out the window for now. I'm going to check this out and see what it has for us. So, without further ado, let's get into it. Okay.
You managed to get most of it on the paper this time. It's a good job, buddy. I, Cara Zor-El, hereby declare that 23 will be the best year yet.
Yeah, I'm gonna get
Let's be honest, babe. It's not a very
copyright
high
for
bar
this.
to clear.
I didn't know any of you were still alive. What was it like to lose everything in a day?
Krypton didn't die in a day. The gods are not that kind. Okay, this does not look like this is gonna end well. For you guys.
Do others on your planet have powers like you?
No, it's a pretty small group of two.
What's Superman like?
Ooh. Lobo.
He sees the good in everyone. And I see the truth.
There's aspects of this that I'm digging, and then there's aspects of this that I am not. The Kremlin, or whatever his name is, the guy that they're hunting for. He looked much different than what he looked in the comic, and I think I would have preferred the way he looked in the comic. I'm pretty sure that was him. Maybe there's a reason that he looks the way that he looks there. I wasn't really feeling that aspect of it. I do think that the actress is incredible. She looks great. I mean, she sounds great as Supergirl. And there is something funny. I know there's a lot of people upset with the fact that she has this, alcohol problem. And basically, there is some truth that, Supergirl has never been portrayed as somebody with, like, a major problem like that besides with this comic. And there is questions of, like, what do you do with the character after that? But I guess we have to ask the question of, like, are, female characters allowed to have some sort of arc that they have to go through? Can they have a negative thing that they deal with, that they have to rise above, like basically using alcohol to dampen, emotional wounds, Are we allowed to have such a thing? I think you should be able to have things like that. That doesn't bother me as much as some of the other things. There's, I think, especially with female characters that originate from male characters, there seems to be this thing, and it's like a wrestling term called like a jobber. And where a jobber comes in and he's kind of supposed to be beat up in some kind of way to uplift the other character, if it's a heel or a baby face, right? And I'm not a big wrestling guy, but I know those terms, right? And they've done this before with the Supergirl show where they belittle Superman to lift up, Supergirl. And it kind of seems like they're doing that here. Sass can be okay at points, but sass can become too much, especially if it's you're demeaning and insulting the other characters, belittling these other characters that people really love. Especially when you do a lot of that outside of, the content, the story anyway. The perfect example of that is the poster where it's like truth, justice, and whatever. If truth, justice, and the American way meant something to DC, and they actually stuck to that, then maybe that would be a good little sassy thing, because it's like, it's not like Kara is like a full-blooded, hardcore loving American like Superman probably is, right? And so there could be, that would make sense. That would make sense. But you've already kind of poo-pooed that slogan anyway. You've came up with all these goofy revisionists, like, things that don't really have any meaning anyway. Revisionism type ways of putting that phrase. If it's a better day or a better tomorrow or whatever it was that James Gunn and them came up with that was real stupid. When you then try to be cheeky after you've already crapped on the slogan, it doesn't really give it much weight anymore. And then you have the line at the end where she's like, she compliments her cousin, but, but then she goes, but I see the truth. Maybe that line would fit better if it wasn't her saying it. There's some arrogance. That's what it feels like. Instead of character growth, instead of, like Superman, he has a full heart and he believes in everyone and he wants to see the good in everyone. But, but you, Kara, you have, maybe if that came from him, maybe if that came from Superman, that would make sense. Maybe if that came from another character, that would make sense. But when it comes from Kara, it sounds arrogant. And the question is does a bunch of dudes who love comic books, because here's the thing, you have to attract the female audience and the male audience. They had a hard time, supposedly, attracting the female audience to Superman. To this Superman. Will you be able to attract that audience to Supergirl? But then you have to also ask, are you going to be able to attract the male audience? Now, you're going to have comic book male fans that are going to be there. But I will say, I think if this movie doesn't attract the female audience the way they're probably hoping to, I do think this will make less money than Superman. Now, what could happen is if you attract the female audience, it could make more money than Superman, which would be fantastic. That'd be great. But if you don't attract the females, you're doing things in this trailer that's not going to attract the male fan base either. Because you're making the character, and I can see there's going to be moments where she's going to have emotion, and she's going to have maybe not a come to Jesus moment, but a self-reflection on her life and maybe some of her choices. But you're making her sound arrogant in the trailer, and then you're doing things that, it's supposed to be like, it's doing this thing, but it comes off as arrogant when you haven't cared for the Superman, the premise of who Superman is to begin with anyway. So I don't know. I'm not feeling that. Some of the action was cool. I like how when she used her laser beam, she covered the girl's face. I like that. It's being protective. I am kind of surprised they didn't go with like a southern accent for the girl. They did a British accent for the young little girl that Kara is going to be helping and taking care of. Because, in the comics, it's kind of like it's supposed to be kind of like True Grit, and maybe that's their way of hiding that. But I think a little bit of that little southern flavor would have done it good, I would say lean into the, uh, not Cowboy Bebop, but Firefly, lean into the Firefly-ness of it. Why not? Right? Like, why not? So, it'll also be interesting to see, the way they handle space travel and stuff with that. I'm gonna have to clip back to see Lobo. Lobo looked awesome. Lobo looked really cool. But yeah, there's warning signs that I was seeing in this trailer, and I do wonder, Anna Neguera, they're just in love with her. James Gunn's in love with her. I can see elements of this where it's like, okay, like she can clearly write really well. But I do wonder if James Gunn loves her so much because it just sounds so much like him. And that's I do wonder that. I do wonder if they love the way that Anna Neguera writes because it sounds so much like the way that James Gunn writes, which would be concerning because you want these things to be different enough. You do want these things to be different enough. So, I don't know. I mean, I hope they give us, I want, when they were going to do the space travel and everything, I was down for it because I want to see cosmic spectacle, I want to see Comet. I want to see some of these other characters that were in the book more fleshed out. I do want to see that. I just don't know what's going to happen with it. And I don't know if by giving Kara an arc, right? Giving her something to deal with, to struggle with, to overcome. I'm concerned, not really with that, which seems everybody's worried about. I'm not really concerned with that necessarily. But I am concerned with, by her doing that, which is, well, I'm going to keep my mouth shut on that. But is that going to cause her to come off as arrogant in other ways? Because of the rules that are set before Hollywood with the things that they believe. Like, can she have a character that's like a male character? Because it doesn't necessarily, the little girl doesn't need to encourage her. She needs to encourage and motivate and inspire the little girl, right? So is there going to be another character that's a female character that can help guide Kara into becoming a better person? That way, she's not coming to all these conclusions on her own, and she's not defining and complimenting and saying things about herself. Because if all her conclusions are made by her, if everything's done that she can motivate from, to rise above from, if all those things are done by her, how interesting does that story become? I don't know. But like I said, I'm feeling mixed. I think I need to see another trailer. Right now I'm feeling mixed. But guys, what about you? What do you think? Maybe I got in trouble with some of you in the comments. If I did, hey, let me know down in the comments down below how you agree with me, disagree with me, all those things. I would love to hear your thoughts. And guys, whatever you're doing, wherever you're going, I hope you're having a good one. Peace.